welcome to Planet Marzipan podcast,
your fish and Marillion podcast,
where we talk about all things in the planet of Marillion and fish. I'm Meza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Hello, welcome to Planet Marzipan. I'm Meza, I'm here with my good friend,
Craig.
And we have a super special guest this week. It's a bit of a bonus episode. It wasn't originally planned, but I hope you've listened to last week's episode where we talked about the How We Live Dryland album, where we had Lucy and Paul and Seamus and James and Tim and Craig on. So during the recording, the Zoom recording, Steve Hogarth popped in for a bit of a chat. So as a special treat, we've cut that out and put it in its own episode. So the Mixmeister's done his stuff here to cut it out neatly. If it makes
as neat as possible.
But we want to thank Lucy and Steve Hogarth for arranging this. The people on the call didn't know that H might pop in and talk to us, so it's a bit of a shock for them when he did. But yeah, it's over to Craig and me and H and everybody else.
Right, here he is.
There he is.
Good
evening.
I forgot.
Good evening.
He's talking about you.
I was just bigging you up as well.
Yeah, it was.
We'll never do that.
Quick, while you've got him, ask him some questions.
Just
for the listeners, because we're not in video, this is Mr. H has just joined us.
I have. It's true.
H, what do you remember about recording the How We Live album?
Poof. Well, I remember doing it down in Bath. I remember borrowing a lot of Peter Gabriel's gear. I remember going to the Moles Club when we'd finished for the day. We used to get finished about midnight, which just gave you enough time to go down the road for a half in the Moles Club. With Jan on the door, who always used to laugh no matter what you said. Hello, Jan, how are you? I don't know if she's still about, actually. She was a great girl and she used to let me in. What else do I remember about that? There was
how do you get Manny involved in it?
Manny Elias?
Yeah.
Well, they all lived in Bath. The Tears for Fears bunch lived in Bath. Peter obviously lived around there. Who else was floating about? There was a few people floating about. I think, what's his face, who drummed for the Stranglers? He lived there. And then
Black.
Yeah, Black.
Yeah, and I think Van Morrison was there for a while as well. I don't know if that was a bit later. It all sort of mushes together. But Tears for Fears were really they were really happening at the time, so everybody knew about them. And I ended up at a party with Kurt and Roland, and they had an organist. Can't remember his name. Hammond organ player, and he did. I went to his house as well at one point, he. I think he played Hammond on. He played quite a lot of Hammond with Peter on the So album later on. And who else was floating about? Stuart Gordon, who came in and played. We had the Allegri String Quartet come in and play on Dry Land. Or the jump.
We've already talked about it. People saying how gorgeous it sounded.
And they weren't very good, to be honest. They were a bit out of tune. We got this other bloke, Stuart Gordon, who was more of a pub violinist, but actually a really good violinist, and he replaced a lot of what they'd done. We still credited them. Are they still around? Am I allowed to badmouth them? But they were quite highbrow, hello, with the Allegri String Quartet, and they struck up and was like, oh, really?
They were just saying how lovely Seamus and John especially was saying how lovely the strings were on Dry Land.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. They're really nice.
Well,
It's a highlight.
they were a little bit of a, I think they were a bit of a compilation of the Allegri String Quartet and a few fixes from Stuart Gordon. Who I found a bloke busking in a shop door. I've been in the habit over the years of dragging buskers into recording sessions, and I found a guy. What was his name? Huge bloke, Canadian. He was in a shop doorway playing the hammered dulcimer, and I hauled him in, and he played on Working Girl at the beginning. Oh, and then of course there was Francis Fuster, the guy who played with Paul Simon on Graceland. He played percussion.
Plays a talking
And
drum, doesn't he? Yeah.
Francis came in and he thought Bath was just outside Brentford, so he got a taxi. He got a black cab and went Crescent Studios, Walcott Street, Bath. And the cabbie went, "Are you sure, mate?" And, "Oh yes," and off they went. And when he arrived, there was about 400 quid on the meter. Because Francis was, from South Africa and didn't really know where Bath was. So that was a bit awkward. Um, I'm not sure if we paid him in the end because his taxi fare was more than the session fee. But he was brilliant and he played on, what did he play on? He might have played on In the City. He played congas and he was fantastic. And yes, how did we get Manny Elias involved? When we were recording Games in Germany, I'd sort of written that and demoed it with a drum machine going boom cha 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 boom cha 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 boom cha cha cha. And David Lord felt that it might be better, with something a bit butcher on it. And I don't know who suggested Manny, but he was Tears for Fears drummer at the time. And I think maybe David Lord got him in because all of those Bath folk so they all sort of knew each other. They'd all worked together over the years. And Manny came in, set his drum kit up in the reception of the studio and just played straight through it. Boof, ga, boof, ga, boom, ga, boom, boom, ga. And it just, and they went on last. The drums were probably the last thing to go down. I'd already done the lead vocals and all the instruments and everything. And then he came in and drummed right the way through the middle of it. Like a bull.
They're perfect though, aren't they? It doesn't sort of.
They're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And Manny's thing was drumming to clicks and percussion because he did so much of it with Tears for Fears. And Manny later joined How We Live for a while, and we toured together. And whenever we did live shows with him, he didn't want click tracks. He wanted what he called ticking Herberts. And ticking Herberts were like little drum machines. So you'd set up a groove on a drum machine, and he'd have that dancing in his wedges, and he'd play to that. He preferred that to clicks, and he was really good at it. So I remember he came in, at the very late stages of Games in Germany and put those drums on. I'm trying. It all kind of melts together a bit that, but it was round about that time that I went to Peter's and he played me Red Rain just after they'd mixed it at his mixing desk, and asked me what I thought, and I said, well, I thought it was very nice.
Very nice.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, okay. Needs a bit more reverb.
It's a bit of keyboards. Can I play on it?
And yeah, so it was the kind of situation at the time in Bath where if I'd ever had the front to ask, I probably would have. He'd have probably gone, "Oh yeah, all right, have a go. See what you think." And I might have ended up on So. But we went. I think Joni Mitchell was in there as well at one point. She was in. She was at Ashcombe House, Peter's studio, before he built Real World. And Larry Klein, her husband, was in Bath producing an album. And so the next thing, I got Manny Elias ringing me up saying, "Oh, I'm in here with Joni Mitchell. Do you fancy coming over?" And I went, "Yeah." And then he phoned me again. He said, "Oh, she just had a load of family arrive, and it's all a bit awkward, and it might not be a good time." So, "Oh, okay, don't worry." So I was that close to popping in and meeting her. I remember that. I also remember the now famous radio appeal for the girl on the bridge. That happened during the How We Live album. I went in the studio one
Really?
day, and the radio was on, and they'd put an appeal out on the radio for this girl who the police had picked up, and she wouldn't talk to them.
Wow.
And I
Solve the
wrote it
prep.
down.
You learned something
I
tonight.
thought, oh, maybe I'll write something about that one day. And that sat in my diary for years and years and years until we were working on Brave, and then it reared its head again.
How did it feel not being in with the Euros with just you and Colin? Did that free you up, or did you have to sort of fill the spaces that Ferg and
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's a shame the Euros split up, but it got to the point where there was we ran out of track. The railway line underneath us stopped, and there was much as we wanted to keep going, we couldn't. And at this point, I think we owed the bank 10,000 quid, and we just sort of we were in debt and we couldn't carry on, and everything had fallen apart. The record label had fallen apart from underneath us. But I suppose I've always been quite what's the word? I've been good at moving on, really. If something's come to an end, other things had a habit of appearing in front of me, and I'd just dive into them and carry on, or do a new thing and go, all right, this is happening now. It was a bit like that when I joined Marillion. I didn't really look back much. I just got on with it, and thought I'll try and make the best of this situation and see what we can do and see where it'll go. So I think I felt a bit like that. I mean, it was it was a little bit liberating. It's always liberating to work with new musicians when you've been in a band for a long time and you're used to working with the same ones. And they all have their character and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. And so sometimes to work with new players is really inspiring because they have a different approach. And so working with How We Live, I guess, gave me a chance to experiment a bit more. In the early stages of it, I'd got Claire Kenny from Amazulu playing bass. And I really liked the feeling that she gave to the band. But then in the end, she didn't really want to commit to it, so she left again.
Where did you find Dave Ball then?
Where did I find him?
Yeah.
It's a bloody good question. I think it was probably the old advert in the back of the Melody Maker.
Right.
And he'd been working, I mean, he'd worked with John Martin. He'd worked with some heavy hitters. He was an amazing technical bass player. I auditioned a bloke called Gavin Harrison at one point and didn't give him the gig.
Really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Does Ian know that?
Yeah. Gavin certainly knows it. He's never really quite forgiven me.
Oh my God, I've learned 2 things tonight.
Oh, I'm that bloke that
fantastic.
wasn't good enough for you, aren't I? He sometimes says. And I'm like,
Ian's
not like that, Gary.
boyfriend.
I was, eh?
Ian's boyfriend.
I
How can
know.
you be so cruel?
No, he can't. He was, he was as he still is. He was a phenomenal drummer, but he was just a little bit. He wasn't organic enough for me. I wanted someone a bit more touchy-feely. And Gavin's incredible, but he's all about precision, and he's a very precise, impressive, amazing drummer. But I'm a sort of psychedelic at heart, so I'd rather have something that's just a little bit woozy
Yeah, get
in a
it.
way. Gavin wasn't woozy enough. Um,
Looking back at the album, are you proud of it?
um, I would have been if it sold 1 million copies.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit like Recurring Dreams. It's a sort of a bit of an undiscovered gem. It's a good piece of work, as is Recurring Dreams. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
because I was listening to Acid Rain last night. Oh, God, it's so beautiful.
which
It's like
one?
Acid Rain.
Oh yes, I've been performing that at the H Naturals. I've been running
That's a
tracks and
really
singing
good
that.
song.
Thank you.
That's a strong song that any band would be proud to have. It's definitely a highlight from the Europeans. I love it.
Well, we
It's a
delivered that.
Fucker.
We delivered that entire album to EMI with a like ta-da, and they just kind of went, oh, not EMI, A&M.
Who
yeah.
chose the singles from the How We Live album? Was it you or the record company?
It was. I mean, we got signed because of all the time in the world and Working Girl, and that was always what they thought. They thought they were the hit. Muff Winwood thought they were the hits. And so, I think he was after a third, what he thought of as a third surefire hit as well. I don't know if there was one on there really,
Mm.
but it was a really dispiriting experience being signed to CBS. They were really I don't know, they were mercenary. They weren't that bothered about the art. It was like, give us a hit, give us a hit, give us a hit, write us a hit, and so we'd go away and write a song and think, oh well, this sounds really commercial, and we'd take it in and they go, no, write us something else, and we go away again, and time was passing and we were running out of money. It was a really horrible experience. That's why I'd had enough of it. By the end of when Dryland had been released and not really done anything, that was the point at which being a milkman was infinitely preferable to just spending another day of that.
Were there
It
not
was
two
really
labels
horrible.
after you though? In the article that Malcolm Doan put in the reissue, it talks about Chrysalis being after you as well as CBS.
I don't remember that. I think he made it up,
Right.
or I've forgotten. Both are equally likely.
Any other questions while he's still here?
I'm going to say that obviously, I mean, it's an extraordinary pressure to be under, with regards to, just write as a hit and go out and, it's not an easy thing to do. I was going to say that the other thing was that the album's obviously titled Dryland, but I don't think that was a single. So
No, that was chosen as a single, and they released it, and it didn't do anything.
okay.
Yeah. You would send these things to the Radio 1 playlist meeting, and if they didn't list them, that was the end of it. Move on. And it really was that brutal.
So were you surprised then by the sort of reimagining of the track, and then when it became, when you redid it for Holidays in Eden and it did hit the top 40, you're sort of like, I told you it was a hit.
Well, no, I just thought it'd gone top 40 because it has got Marillion's name on it, to be honest.
Right.
I didn't think it was any kind of. If it had gone top 3 and stayed there for 6 weeks, that would have been different. But as it was, that's the kind. It's just a numbers game, really.
That was EMI playing dicks with who they're going to promote that week again.
Well, it's all like that. I mean,
Yeah.
at CBS, it was all about Terence Trent D'Arby at the time, and they didn't even notice if you were in the room. They were so busy, thinking about how they were going to break Terence Trent D'Arby. It really was that. It was really palpable that they couldn't get excited about anything else at that point.
Where is he now?
I don't
He's
know.
under a different. He's still around, but he's under a different.
He's back
about to
out
go on
now
tour.
under his original name. Is
Yeah.
where he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
How close were we to getting You Don't Need Anyone on Holidays in Eden?
I don't think the boys would have worn it. I think they were pushed to their limit by Chris Neal wanting to put Dry Land on there. I mean, I was uncomfortable really with You Don't Need Anyone because in a way it was just so poppy and so hooky. It just felt a bit.
He was great in Port Zealand.
Yeah, it was great fun.
It was brilliant.
Live.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, there
Did
you
you
go.
nearly?
It
did you
used to
nearly
make me
look at-
feel a bit
Sorry, Adrian.
queasy, even though I'd written it.
Go on there, James.
I was going to say, talking of holidays, we were talking earlier. Did you nearly try games in Germany as well?
No, what happened when there was definitely what's the word? When I joined the band, I remember meeting John Arneson, their manager, the very first time I met him, and I think he bought me lunch and said, what do you think? Do you think this could work out? And la la la. And he was saying, I really loved that song, Games in Germany. I really love it. And I think it'd work really well with the band. But again, they wouldn't have it. I think, you could only push them so far.
But Ian said tonight that was the song that he was playing in his car when he drove over to Pete's and said,
Yep.
This is the bloke.
It is a cracker.
So Ian must have liked it.
Well, they could have stuck it on the season's end, but they didn't. They did Berlin instead.
Oh, yes.
Well,
Sorry,
yeah,
got it.
'cause yeah.
Carry on, as you were.
It's just staring at a cat's ass.
That's Craig's best side, I'll have you know.
Yeah. That's the chief editor.
That's Pepper every episode.
You got any memories of supporting Chris de Burgh?
Well, the funniest one really is we had a keyboard player called Raina Shine, and she was, I think she'd been classically trained and she had perfect pitch, and she used to be Vangelis' studio engineer, and she told me that he came in one night and said, "Oh, I've got to write something for this movie, and I'm just going to stay up all night and play the piano. And when you come in the morning, can you have a listen through it and see if there's anything in there we could use?" So she came in the next morning, listened to everything he'd got, and she edited together Chariots of Fire from what he'd done. And she said, I still can't listen to it because I can still hear all the edits when they go by, and then he came in and said, "Oh, that's nice." And he put a bit of the old on top of it. So she told me that she'd literally edited Chariots of Fire together as an idea from just a load of random piano playing. But I digress. What was funny was that she had perfect pitch, and I'd be sitting in the dressing room with the band, and we'd be talking, and after we'd been on stage, and Chris would be on stage, and she'd keep going, "Oh, yeah," like that. I said, "What's the matter?" And she'd go, "Can't you hear that?" And go, "What?" She says, "It's so out of tune." And he used to sing so out of tune, it used to cause her physical pain, even when she was hearing it kind of coming through the wall. So I remember that I found that quite amusing. That she'd keep going yeah in the middle of conversations, um, and she
Lady in red.
Lady in Red. You go, oh fuck me up a bit, up a bit, Chris. Um,
You
and
know, he's the one Irishman we're not very proud of.
Oh,
yeah, he probably isn't even Irish. I think he's a bit, I think he's made whole aspects of his life are sort of made up. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I mean, he used to have this biography about how he was descended from the Knights of de Burgh. And it's all bollocks. He's called Chris Davidson or something.
Oh shit!
You've blown his cover, Steve.
So there's quite a little bit of fabrication in his past. He's probably not Irish at all. He's probably from bloody, I don't know, West Bromwich or something. But what's the other thing? There are a lot of memories really from those days.
We heard there were huge crowds you were playing to. Like there were huge concerts, especially in Germany.
There was one memorably huge one, yeah. I think
Yeah.
there was like 90,000 at that. I don't know if there was 90,000 there when we were on, but it was vast. I remember that. And if it was 90,000, I don't think it was. It's still the biggest audience I've ever played to this day.
no.
We
Not
can,
Rio.
Rio's got to be bigger
no,
than
that
that.
wasn't 90. That was 55.
Really?
A piffling 55.
Puh,
Only.
puh.
But I'm not. I mean, I didn't go out and count them. You never know, really. There's so much bullshit in this business.
There
You
was
get told things, you
55,000
think, "Oh, that could be
there,
true."
there were
What?
55,000 paying punters, maybe.
Yeah, what? Oh, well, no, there'll have been about 5,000 paying punters in Rio. Then 50,000 of them will have slid in over the fence or,
Okay.
at the point of a gun.
Wasn't there
Uh,
the terrifying experience, H, of playing the Edinburgh Playhouse during that tour with
yeah,
Christopher?
yeah, that was in the top 5 most scary things that have ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I'd eaten a load of dope on the bus on the way there, and I ceased to have a memory at all. Anything, nothing, no songs, no tunes, no words, no nothing, and go on stage with just nothing. Was absolutely terrifying. Yeah, never
Yeah.
again.
No.
Well, maybe just once.
James has got a recording of it.
Has he?
No,
I don't want to hear it.
I think
I was
that
shouting
was
across
probably
at Rainer.
what.
I came. I mean, the band struck up while I was on my hands and knees in the car park vomiting, and I heard the music start inside the playhouse, and I thought, oh fucking hell, they're on. And I'm busy sort of wiping. I'm shit sick all over my suit and everything.
I
And
think you were on
And it's
stage and
not
you were just
clever.
having an out of body experience.
it was so awful. And I ran up
Yeah.
all of these stairs and then straight onto the stage to centre mic, not knowing what I'd do when I got there. Bloody terrifying.
Not big and it's not clever, and you
No.
know it.
No.
It's interesting, but that's about it.
Throwing
There
up
was-
in Germany.
There were some photos that went along with Rainer's diary of that night, and I think
Say that again?
there were some photos of that night that Rainer had sent me to go alongside her diary that she wrote, which was brilliant.
Really?
One of the photos was titled "Steve Not Very Well."
Oh,
really
send it
wasn't-
to me. Send it to me.
I'll dig it out.
There was a great moment actually, about tea time after the sound check, when I really had left the planet completely, and they thought they'd try and hold me in the shower to straighten me out. And there was this chap. He was Chris de Burgh's tour accountant. He was quite prim and proper, and he was sitting there with his laptop or whatever he had, his calculator and his his ticket receipts, and he got this little desk set up. And he was in the room that had a shower. That was the only room that had a shower in it. And they brought me in, and I was literally hanging in between two people. And they said, "Oh, would you mind, Anthony, if we just hold Steve in the shower for 5 minutes?" And he went, "Oh, yes, of course. Be my guest," as though it was the most normal and natural thing in the world. And I went past with my feet dragging, and then into the shower and screaming as they poured cold water over me. And he just carried on adding up the ticket receipts as though it was the most normal thing on earth. So he'd obviously done a bit of rock and roll already. That was quite funny. It was a hellish night. I could go on for a week about that night.
Hopefully you exercised the demons then when you played it again with Marillion.
It was infinitely less stressful.
Well, that was my first gig, the Holidays in Eden gig at Edinburgh Playhouse back in '91. That was my first gig.
I was probably having flashbacks.
Yeah.
I was the Barrowlands. I went to see the Brave tour of the Barrowlands. Great night. Got a recording of that somewhere.
Wow. It was all such a long time ago, wasn't it? But it doesn't feel that long ago, but it was a bloody long time ago.
Is it 30 years or 40? No, it's 30, isn't it? No.
Brave.
It's
30.
31
How
from 30.
31.
Oh, How We Live. Yeah, that would be 40 because
that's not
brilliant
right.
for 36, I think.
How can it be 40 years?
Yeah, it will have been.
What I was 17. What the hell was my mother letting me go out to a bloody gig at Wembley?
Yeah, exactly. Irresponsible.
She let me go. It's probably because it was like, oh, Krista Burr, she's not going to get in any trouble at that.
No.
Oh, it wasn't good.
He's dodgy though, Chris. He'd get you into trouble given half a chance. He's dreadful.
Careful.
Anyway, better edit that out.
Well, are you done, John? Can he go and lie down again?
I can stay, whichever he wants to do.
I'm missing the celebrity traitors.
Don't, because I'm missing
it as well.
Lucy's
got to go.
Yeah.
Don't tell us who's been voted out. Thank you for joining us, H.
All right.
Cheers, H.
Cheers,
H.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
I hope that helped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
How do I get out of here?
Take a tunnel.
And he's gone.
Sorry about that. I was messaging him all the way through, going, wake up. Yeah. And in the end, I went and got Ian to call him.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah.
And he went,
oh shit, I forgot.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That's Mr. H and some of his recollections from the How We Live album. Back in October, we asked you in our Facebook group what you think of the album. And once again, we got lots of comments, so thank you very much for that. And we're just going to give you a few of the highlights now. Carl Rag-Reagan says, absolutely brilliant. And you can see how it went on to shape some of Marillion's sound. I noticed Simon's car isn't on the version. I put two pictures up, and one was the back of the esoteric version, which hasn't got Simon's car on it. But he says, shame because it's fantastic and later became Cover My Eyes, my favourite Marillion tune. Well, if you've listened to last week's episode, you know that we do talk about Simon's car.
Robert Peresso. This is an exquisite album. There's lots of catchy melodies, well-structured arrangements, and H's vocals, while sounding young, have a maturity to them. It took me about 8 years to find a copy, but well worth the hunt in those early internet days. I met the band in '92 and asked H about Dryland. He was very modest, saying the original title track has real strings, downplaying what a gem this is. H's solo versions of these songs show the depth of the lyrics and the strength of the compositions. If you don't have it, do yourself a favour, get it. Well worth repeated listens.
Cool. Rick Kessler. Hi, Rick. All the Time in the World should have been a hit. I totally agree, mate, but nobody else did. I actually like the Europeans version slightly better. Not heard that one, but it would be amazing to hear Marillion cover it. Speaking of Marillion covering How We Live tunes, where is You don't need anyone. Rick, you're talking my language.
Steve Armitage, fab. Games in Germany is amazing. Nice short one.
Yeah. Leo Trimming has quite a long post, but he says, I'd almost forgotten I reviewed the esoteric of this album in 2016 for the progressive aspect. In some ways, it was a significant album for Marillion as one of the songs got noticed by Ian Mosley, leading to an audition for Steve Hogarth, again as discussed in the last episode. And we now know which song that was. Thank you, Lucy. Leo quotes from his own review on the progressive aspect. How We Live died as a band after this one album, and it's easy to see why it did not hit the mark as it falls between two stools. Not pop enough to be truly pop, and not rock enough to appeal to the rock audience. It has its moments, particularly the aforementioned Working Town, but some of the songs have dated badly. To be fair, if those amongst us old enough looked at photos of ourselves in the 80s, most of us might shift a little uncomfortably in our seats. Fair play, Leo. Nevertheless, for some fans, this is an interesting curio of their reverend frontman in another guise and style. Working Town and Games in Germany were the highlights, but it appears I really did not like A Beat in the Heart. The less said about the final song, A Beat in the Heart, the better. It is such a painfully poor, cliched pop song. Indeed, it's a real pity that it immediately follows and clumsily spoils the atmosphere and feeling evoked by the best and most beautiful song on the whole album, Working Town. And then Leo says, as I've hardly played it for 9 years, which says a lot in itself, I may need to give it another listen to be fair. If anybody's interested in Leo's full review, it's on theprogressiveaspect.net.
Cool. I've got a few short ones here. Edgar M. Dias says it's an 80s pop masterpiece. He's got it on CD and vinyl, but it's a shame it's not on audio platforms. I think it's just down what we've been talking about, who knows who's got the rights for it. David Charles Foss says it's really good for me. Gillian Brown. Hi, Jill. I love All the Time in the World. Yeah, it's a bit of a Marmite one with everybody in it. Alice Anorak McCade is fantastic CD. And Kester R, great album. My fave is In the City. It does wear its influences on its sleeve in places, mind.
David Beckwith says, love the build from Working Girl into the rest of the album. Games in Germany and the Rainbow Room are just brilliant. I much prefer listening to these songs than earlier European stuff. Nothing wrong with the Euros for me, but it's a bit punkier and a bit different.
Keith Wickenden. This arrived at Marco's Marillion Museum some time back. I think it's great, but very underestimated album that never really has a chance. It's great to hear H play Working Town at his solo gigs. And he's got a picture of the quite rare How We Live free cassette single. Ooh.
Mark Griffin says, this album holds a really special place for me. After Steve H was announced as the new singer, I stumbled upon Dry Land and the 2 European studio albums in a second-hand record shop in Birmingham. The moment I heard Working Girl, I knew Steve H had a great voice. I even managed to find a cassette copy of Dry Land, and H signed it for me at the Web Convention at the Borderline in 1992. Around that time, I had my first serious girlfriend, and this album became our soundtrack. Dry Land was our song, which made it more meaningful. The album could have been a hit. All the Time in the World is catchy, while Lost at Sea and Working Town bring a real emotional depth. And for fellow Marillion fans, Games in Germany and The Rainbow Room are absolute gems. A big mention to Colin Ho. How do you pronounce Colin's name? Colin Waugh.
Oh.
Sorry. And his guitar work throughout the album is just brilliant.
Yeah, some more short ones. Barry Wood says great album. Brian McCooley says it's brilliant. Nige Spears, I totally love Simon's Car. That piano riff is such brilliance. God damn it, predictive text.
He said,
he says.
he typed earworm, but it's actually about Harworth. I don't know quite what.
Yeah, we all get stuck with that, don't we?
And Catherine Roy says, Working Town is a lovely song and it doesn't sound 80s like the rest.
Mark Daniel says he loves it. Steve Stevens, though, says it's crap.
Thanks, Steve. Anyway,
Short, precise, to the point.
yeah, that's what you guys think. And last week we told you what we think about it. But basically, if you haven't got it, try and get hold of it because it's a great album.
And it's well deserving of a deluxe version because, like the guys are saying, there's so much material around and about with the Europeans versions and other versions and things that were unreleased. And as a Marillion fan, there's so much stuff in there that you can feel and hear the germs of things. And
Yeah. But if you get hold of it and give it a play, drop us a message. Let us know what you think. Anyway, thank you very much to Mr. Hogarth and all our guests from the first episode, and my other half here, Craig.
Why, thank you.
All are
and no, what we've got in continuing the theme. So last week we did How We Live. We've continued it here. Next week we continue the theme, and we're going to welcome Tim back for a Meets episode where we actually talk all things Europeans and the Rainbow Room website and How We Live and how it all comes together. So that's
I hope that happens now, because at the minute, as we're recording it, we haven't done that. So I don't say that. So when it doesn't happen, there's your man.
Oh, you doom-monger.
No, I'm sure it will happen. Tim was lovely, and we'll get him back on and have a really good chat. His website is amazing, by the way. But anyway, as I was about to say, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
And stay alive.
Yeah.
Hey! Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot for